Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow and felt the chill, and he still got more love than cranky Coach Bill. History on the table for the Patriots player coach, Mike Vrabel. And how are we planning to spend football's fun day by overeating, excessive drinking, and a sloppy driveway family fistfight? That's why we call it Super Sunday. It's exciting and unpredictable. It's also new. It's this week's edition of Obstructed View. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Watson, and look who's here. Mike, before I introduce you, my wife was telling me that I don't give you enough love because I always come on with some wise-ass comment to introduce you. So for people who don't know who Mike is, SC legendary offensive lineman back in the day, and then longtime ESPN talk radio host. But for our purposes, he's our hopeful in the short program in Cortina. Hey, there it is.
Yeah.
And we don't know if we're going to see him in a third box today, but certainly you're going to hear his voice. It's our multi-award winning producer and reporter, podcasting's Polar Vortex. There he is from the desert. We call him the Polar Vortex because everything he touches just turns to ice. Hello, Tom Catlin. How are you?
I'm excellent. I think my shot's frozen, but I'm excellent. Let's go back to you guys.
That's even better. That's good. No applause for
Polar
you.
Vortex frozen. We get it, Tom. Great. That was great.
Hey, you guys, it was even cold in Florida. We got to 30 degrees in Florida. Yeah, South Florida, the freezing temperatures of South Florida. Let's get right to it. But Mike, headline just broke a couple minutes ago. I don't know if you saw it. Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza, big announcement. He's opening a Taco Bell.
Nice.
Don't those cost like $2 million, $3 million for a franchise?
Yeah. Well, listen. NIL is great. So you have one quarterback at Miami who's driving and crashing McLarens, right, and not going to class.
Yeah, Carson Beck. Yeah.
And then you have Fernando Mendoza, who graduated from the Haas Business School at the University of California, very prestigious, and then went to the University of Indiana, and I think his dad he's a doctor, if I'm not mistaken. So there's professionals in the background. I love hearing stories like that. I like it. And so, here's the deal. If you're going to get, I would have got a wings and things or something like that. That would have been my preference.
It's an investment. It's not a dinner plan,
Yeah, but he got Taco Bells. I think there's a pretty good record on that. I love this guy. I just think he's different. I just think and the fact that he did that, good for him. Where is it at? Is it in Indiana?
I don't know. It didn't have that. It just broke that he's opening one. But you got to think that the Taco Bell Corporation maybe slid him one at a big discount, get him on board early. Then he'll do the commercials for you. You lock him up. And then he can be a franchisee and just own 15 or 20 of these things across the country.
See, if I was a recruiter for State Farm, I would go to every Heisman Trophy winner. I'm going to say, hey, we're going to set you up across from the stadium, and everybody's going to say you're their insurance guy, right? And I'm always kind of astonished at the guys that want to go into a CBD business and sink every last cent into it, and it just doesn't transpire. The fact that you've got that fame and fortune and you're doing it, this is not the cautionary tale that we're used to of somebody wasting all their money, right?
No, he's gonna be fine. He's surrounded with good people. He's a smart guy, and he probably knows, he's gonna end up ultimately making more money owning Taco Bells for the next 50 years than he will play in the NFL for 7 or 8 years. So
yeah,
good for him. Golf clap. All right, Michael, let's get to the Super Bowls this week. I don't know if you read about it. So here's the thing for me. I'm not overly excited about this game. Like normally with the Super Bowl, there's a villain, an obvious villain, an obvious hero. This one to me, it lacks sex appeal. There's no dynasty storylines. There's no big stars. And it's two of the most unpleasant fan bases in all of football. Take Seattle. So coming down from Seattle, it's going to be an armada of ass white dudes with muffin tops, rocking REI puffy jackets, headed to Santa Clara, and every one of them will be driving a dirty Subaru Outback and blasting Pearl Jam all the way there. I live there. That's what they all look like. You know what you never hear a guy in Seattle say at dinner? Oh, no, I'm good. Never. Just keep it coming.
Well, you're piling on us the stereotype there, but I don't know that I can argue with you at this point.
I lived there. I lived there for 3 years, so I feel like I have some inside knowledge. Yeah. How about Boston fans? Tommy worked for the Red Sox for many years, and so he knows about Boston. Tom, tell me if I'm right on the nose with this one. Boston fans, the angriest grouping of people outside of a WNBA Players Association meeting. Would that be right? Right.
That's
rolling out of Southie, right? Rolling out of Southie, dropping F-bombs, 3 or 4 a sentence, and then making sure along the way that everybody knows how wicked smart your quarterback is.
That's really, right on.
People in New York say to people in Boston, how bad is that accent? It's awful.
That's right on. They show up to get hammered, and they're personally insulted if the team loses. Certainly the Red Sox.
There are no R's in New England, apparently, because even the baseball team, they just call the Sox. And nobody in Boston has an R.
I didn't go to many Pats games. There's one road in and one road out, so it takes forever. And I know the Super Bowl's not in New England, but much more experience with the Sox. And yeah, people are hammered. They're angry. And they all, new manager every game.
Yeah, let me tell you this one, Mike, you'll appreciate this. I was at Fenway one time. I was in Boston. I was with a young lady, and she'd never been to Fenway. I said, well, let's go to the game. So I contacted someone at the Sox and said, listen, I need tickets through the media, but I'll buy them. I never wanted free tickets. To me, it's a conflict. So I'll buy them. And the guy said, it's okay. Somebody had tickets. They can't come to the game. They're just going to go to waste. Take them. Right behind the plate. And Tom, if you know, because you worked in Fenway for years, aisle to aisle at Fenway is like 40 seats, Mike. And these two were 19 and 20. So we were right in the middle. They're playing Tampa Bay. And by the 5th or 6th inning, I forget who it was throwing for, it was probably Wakefield or somebody throwing. And he is not allowed to hit into the 5th or 6th inning. And if you go to a Red Sox game at Fenway, nobody's enjoying themselves. They either are hating what's happening, or they know what the good thing that's happening is about to end constantly. That's how they are. So now let's just say it's Wakefield. He's perfect so far through 5 frames. The girl I'm sitting with, she doesn't know baseball. And she looks over and she says to me, hey, Tampa Bay doesn't even have a hit yet. Is that a no-hitter? And there must have been 40 guys who turned and looked at me, not her, like, why do you have her here? And now she's ruined it. And I said, all right, guys, relax. We don't control the universe from row 38. I kid you not, 2 pitches later, base hit up the middle. And I looked at her, I said, you ready to go? Because we're done here. One of us is getting his ass kicked. Yeah.
I have a take on this with Boston Red Sox fans. And if you recall, when they were just in the misery of being a loser and all this, and then they came back, they were down 3 games to the Yankees, and they came back and won that, and then they won the World Series. And
yep.
I watched some Red Sox fans really struggle with it internally because they lost that narrative that they love. Yeah. That I can't be the loser now, and I don't really know how to act because we won. And it just kind of shocked me, because I always assume you want your team to win and you want to be a champion, and there's this certain mentality and the spoils that come along with that. And quite frankly, I thought this guy was the one that I'm thinking of was miserable because of it. And it's like, so that I think, to your point, it talks about who the fan is, what the fan is, and what they expect.
Yeah. Well, the long-suffering Red Sox fan and that was their identity. And when you took that away,
Yes.
well, they were just regular fans after that because they victimized themselves. They loved it. Oh, poor us, the curse. We never win. Hey, relax. It's a baseball game. Tommy, you worked there for, I don't know, a long time, but please tell Mike, you know how, Mike, for 100 years, people were raised, grandfathers and sons and grandsons all the way down, and nobody had ever won a World Series, and people had waited 30, 50, sometimes 75 years for the Red Sox to win a World Series. Mike was working for the Padres in San Diego, and the president of the team left and went to Boston and brought Tommy with him. And Tommy, how long did you have to wait as a long-suffering Red Sox fan before they won a World Series?
I was there in 03, and by the way, my camera's frozen still. I was there in 03, and they were winning. And so I had to rush down to the clubhouse to get the celebration. By the time I got to the clubhouse, they were losing because I was in the upper deck.
There is the cooler, Mike. I told you. Tom's the cooler.
And so I went, it was silent in the clubhouse, but I kind of felt the pain of a Red Sox fan. I thought, I've been here 3 months. I can't possibly win an American League championship. So that was somewhat devastating, but the fans are dedicated. You're born into it. They put a Sox hat on you when you're born.
How long were you suffering with the Red Sox before they won a trophy?
So then they won the next year. So a solid year and a half for me. But I was raised a Mets fan, so I was anti-Yankee, and I've been a Sox fan for a long time, but primarily Mets.
So, Mike, we'll do it. You'll be gone because we're going to let you go after football season. But during baseball season, I will have Tom tell the story about how when he and his brothers would go to Mets games. When they would leave them, I mean, they were already hammered by the time they got there. Then they drank at the game, and then on the way home, they had a game where they have to stop at every bar along the way until they got home. So
everybody do that?
Tell that story.
We'll wait for baseball season for that.
Yeah, we got to wait for baseball season. We're trying to fill time. All right, let's get back to
it. Didn't go well on my dad's 50th birthday.
We're gonna get to football, and of course, the best way to jump into this was some sound from Groundhog Day. Old Gobbler's Knob, Mike Puxatawny Phil, who the prognosticator of prognosticators. By the way, not just does he see a shadow, but who's going to win the Super Bowl? He's been right more than he's been wrong. This is what it looked and sounded like a couple of days ago in Puxatawny, Pennsylvania.
February 2nd, Punxsutawney Phil, the seer of seers, prognosticator of all prognosticators, was awakened from his wintry nap at dawn on Gobbler's Knob. Phil looked to the skies and then, speaking in groundhogese, directed President Dunkel to the proper scroll, which reads, "It's my great honor to answer your annual call. So I rise again this morning to greet you all. But today I wake thinking of numbers and time. America turns 250 and I'm at least 139. Let's celebrate all, young, old, babies, or millennial, and kick off America's semi-quincentennial. We look to the future and not just the past. So I suppose this party could use a forecast. It is my job this February 2 to look to the skies and report back to you that there is a shadow here on my ground. 6 more weeks of winter abound."
Come on, how good is that? Look at those knuckleheads. My favorite part of that whole thing, not that the guy looks like Bart Giamatti. I don't know why I couldn't get that out of my head watching it. Tommy, I love that the director reacts on Puxatawny Phil. So the dude's holding that rascal in his arms, and he was so well behaved. My kids aren't that well behaved. He's just sitting there. He knows he's going to deliver bad news. But help me, I never understood this. Wait, if he sees his shadow, that means winter, but doesn't the shadow mean that the sun is out? How does it work?
This is a question for Mike.
Yeah.
Well, you want me to answer that? Okay. Listen, I'm more about the reaction shot on the rodent, right? That to me is good TV.
So, by the way, the night before on Groundhog Day, my two daughters had never seen the movie.
Yeah.
So even though I paid for like 9 platforms, I paid on Amazon to get Groundhog Day, and I made them watch it. And the 9-year-old was like, "What?" And just staring at, like, they do this? Why would people stand in the cold to do this? And she had seen Times Square too, and I said, I'd much rather go to Gobbler's Knob just so I can say I've been there, than Times Square and stand there and watch a ball drop down. That looks like fun to me. I think I'd go one time.
I want your thoughts on the name Gobbler's Knob, because to me it's like an elderly porn flick.
If you could put that in the thumbnail, I bet we'll double our audience. All right, so let's get back to football, Mike. And the reason I showed Punxsutawney Phil is 5 of the 6 years that Phil has seen his shadow, the Patriots have won the game. Now, I'm not asking you for your pick yet. We'll do that at the end of this. But overview going in. What do you like about the game? There he is. I'm all right. Yeah, I remember that one. What's your view on the game going in, Michael? We got 48 hours till kickoff.
I really believe that there's 2 things that stand out to me. One, I don't know about the Patriots offense because they played in blizzards the last 2 games. So how am I supposed to judge Drake May? And I do believe that the Seahawks have this defense. I'm going to make a comparison. I don't want you to take it literally, but if I go back in time and I think about those Ray Lewis-led defenses for the Ravens, and Trent Dilfer is at quarterback. So everybody talks about how everything is quarterback, and that's been Sam Darnold versus Drake May. And it's just such an oversimplification because neither of those two have shown me they can take over a game. They have been good and they've been effective. So I kind of think of this, it's going to be a defensive game. Mike Vrabel's going to come up with what he does. So I really think this is an under game, and it might not be the most action-packed Super Bowl you've ever witnessed.
Yeah, Mike, I'm right with you on that. I thought that's really concise, and you're seeing right through it. Neither one of these quarterbacks are going to dominate this game. I don't think either quarterback is going to be the MVP. This is setting up for some defensive player has a couple of picks or some sacks, or maybe a wide receiver scores a couple of times. By the way, Drake May just finished runner-up for the MVP. So, I got to admit, I didn't watch him that closely during the year. I thought 3-4 years, we'll see if this guy's any good. Nobody thought the Patriots were going to be any good. So I didn't pay them any attention until like week 10 or 11. So I agree with you. I think he's just going to manage it. I think they're going to keep him, within, his comfort zone. Darnold, I think, is going to throw a critical pick because I think Darnold is starting to think he's got to prove he belongs on the stage. I think he's going to force it. I think there'll be one big pick in this game that Darnold throws.
You might be right about that. He may feel as though he's gotten past the fact that he has been notorious for doing exactly what you're describing, or he's kind of gotten over it and they've put together the game plan. The one place where I put an advantage with the Patriots is that there's a lot of people that have been to Super Bowls there from the coaching staff. Vrabel, Josh McDaniel. I don't know how many he's been to. I want to say like 8. And he's going to understand what it's about. And I think he's almost directly responsible for the success of Drake May, to keep him within the confines of running that offense. But here's the problem. And I know I'm going to sound like an offensive lineman doing a podcast, but the Patriots line is not going to be able to stand up to the defensive front of the Seattle Seahawks. And I just really believe let's talk about all the cliches that we can, but I think it's really an axiom here. That's what's going to happen. And in the trenches, I don't think they're going to be able to protect or run the football. So it doesn't matter what's up on the grease board. I really feel like Seattle's going to hold them in check.
We've talked a lot the last couple of weeks about the effect of Mike Vrabel, because he was a player that it resonates, especially with the big guys in there, because he's one of them. He wasn't a big face guy. He wasn't Tom Brady. So just named Coach of the Year. Vrabel, part of that whole New England dynasty, won 3 Super Bowls as a player. But I want to ask you about what he predicted in 2019, or at least he said he would do this back in 2019, and it was brought up again. He was coaching the Titans then, and they were going deep in the playoffs. And they asked him, what it would mean to be a winning coach of a Super Bowl team. And he said, I would cut off my penis for that to happen. And they brought it up again on Radio Row this week. And he said, maybe half a penis, but here's the part that made me think of you. Here's his quote. I would cut off my penis to coach a winning Super Bowl team. Heck, I've been married 20 years. Yeah, probably when you guys have been married 20 years, you'll understand you just don't need it anymore.
Yeah, boy, that's starting to sound like some Mike Leach witticisms, isn't it?
so good. So you understand why I was thinking of you as soon as I read that.
Yeah.
All right. And then let's pay off Drake May. There's a great story about Drake. You guys have probably read this. When he was a kid, he was growing up and he was a Carolina Panthers fan. And they were playing pretty well. And his dad told him, and I guess he was 12 or 13 at the time, hey, if they go to the Super Bowl, I'll take you. Well, they went to the Super Bowl. And so they had to go from the East Coast all the way to the Super Bowl, which was where? Santa Clara, same stadium. So how about that? 10 years ago, this kid is sitting in the 400 section with his dad for driving across the country to see a Super Bowl. And if you would have told him, hey, you're sitting here now, but in 10 years, you're going to be the starting quarterback for the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And then one more note on the end of this, he got a phone call after they won the AFC. He got a phone call from Peyton Manning, who said, hey, unsolicited, but I've been where you are. And all I'm going to tell you is try to keep your schedule the same. Don't change anything. They're going to try to pull you in 100 different directions. Just stay with what you do. It's almost impossible during a Super Bowl. But to have Peyton Manning reach out and call Drake May, the cool part of that story is when Drake May was at that Super Bowl as a 13-year-old, the guy who was watching play was Peyton Manning. So It's all a full circle. And so, if you believe in serendipity and the tumblers of the universe lining up, maybe Drake May has a great game and surprises us all. And we're talking about this guy for the next 20 years.
Well, we don't know. Both of these quarterbacks are young and really at the end of the beginning, if you will, of their careers. As you frame that, though, it's almost, man, can you believe it's so fantastical that he's sitting in Santa Clara watching a Super Bowl and knowing athletes that are successful, it's not a surprise to him. He was envisioning that at that time. And I don't think he probably ever lost that. And here's the deal. His dad did something for him, right? He showed him that stage. He showed him what was going on there. And so he's probably not you can't help but look around and be a little bit intimidated about it. I would imagine he's less intimidated. And the story about Peyton Manning to do that, good for him, right? Good for him to be able to pass, pay it forward.
Well, we all love Peyton Manning. He just seems to have the right tone. He seems like one of us. Seems like a guy you want to have a beer with at a Kenny Chesney concert at Neyland Stadium, right? Just you feel like you talked to him for 5 minutes and he's treating you just like any guy in his locker room, anybody he's known. One last note on this.
Jim, you've got a very vivid imagination about your time with Peyton Manning, don't you? You've got the stadium, you've got the artist. What kind of beer were you drinking?
if you're in Tennessee, you're drinking PBR or you're drinking Daniels. That's all they serve.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I've been there when he was on stage with Chesney. Brought him out because Chesney's an East Tennessee guy. Brought him out and they sang together. And I was part of whatever 108,000 idiots on a hot, sweaty day watching it happen.
Well,
Last
you're
note here.
on your buddies with him, right? It's you and Peyton and Kenny, right? Is that
Absolutely.
okay? Okay.
First name basis.
Hold on. I'll call you back. It was him, right? Oh wait, that's empty. Patriots, Mike, have won every road game they played this year.
Right.
Factor in at all?
I think that it does because you start to believe, right? Yeah, 100%. I think there's a lot of believers in that Patriots locker room. I really do, and I think if the Patriots win, it's probably going to come down to that. I don't think they're as talented, but if they do pull this off, it's going to definitely be a Vrabel special. Absolutely. And
I agree.
Like I watched the thing, and you're talking about Peyton Manning and how Drake May, kind of saw him. There was a thing that Teddy Bruschi went down for ESPN and is talking to Mike Vrabel. And I kind of thought to myself, if that doesn't give you goosebumps to watch those two guys together as former teammates and how that translates into whatever they want to call it. I don't think they call it the Patriot way, but I think that, the traditions of teams that have won for a long time. You guys mentioned the Yankees, right? There's just kind of that. Yeah, Derek Jeter did not invent it, okay, but he draws on stuff that Joe DiMaggio did, that Yogi Berra did. They have that, and I really believe there's a part of that that's going to go on with the Patriots and what Mike Vrabel does. So if they win, I believe it's wholly because of the coach.
Well, when you walk in their locker or their lobby, the administrative offices in Foxborough, they have Super Bowl trophies everywhere you look. It's very businesslike. This is what we do here. We win these. Yeah. It's not expected, but we're not surprised when we make it to a Super Bowl. So I think the good thing for Drake May is because he doesn't have to win the game for him. He doesn't have a lot of pressure. He's the second youngest quarterback ever to start a Super Bowl, and it's only by a few days. How about this, Mike? If you weren't feeling old this morning when you got out of bed, Drake May is the first Super Bowl quarterback born in the 21st century.
Oh,
sorry about that. Yeah.
Well, and I think you and I, our point of reference is definitely the 1900s on a lot of things, right? So yeah, it
Well, just think about that tonight when you're fluffing the My Pillow, trying to get some sleep at 3 in the morning.
Oh, don't worry. Yeah, that's a reality right there.
Here's a story that I
clue me in. Was fluffing the pillow a euphemism?
Yeah, everything's a euphemism now.
Yeah.
All right, here's a story that I could give a fat frog's fanny about. Bill Belichick denied the Hall of Fame. Look, you can break it down any way you want. You know why he got denied? Because he's a dick. Nobody liked him. And so the gatekeepers, the sports writers, you can always identify a sports writer in the room because he'll have his back to you because he's at the buffet spilling chili sauce on a shirt, which he bought it at Mervin's. Do they still have Mervin's, Mike? That he bought it at Mervin's. He'll have 3 days of growth, a huge belly, and halitosis. Oh, and he can conjugate verbs. So that's how you can always tell who sports writers. I was a TV guy. They hated us forever. I tried to get close to those guys. I tried to be cool with those guys. I would share information with those guys, and they hated us. And I understood it because we're on TV. We get way too much attention. We get too much credit for things we have nothing to do with. And it's, TV is a visual medium. Those guys never were going to get on TV. A piece of man candy like me, I was headed for the lens from the day I got out of a diaper. So that should help ingratiate those guys to me again, won't it?
It's 4 times the pay for half the work.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mike, why is this a conspiracy? Is this political, or is it just This is the first year he's eligible, and there's a bunch of guys in front of him. Who did they put in those other guys in front of him? Kenny Anderson. I loved watching Kenny play for the Bengals back then. Roger Craig, seriously, with the Niners. Like it was L.C. Greenwood. I mean, you can't have them all in. So was it a slight to Belichick, or was it, hey, you just got to wait a minute. We got other guys that have been waiting longer. It's like a doctor's office.
I think it's a combination of those two, but when you alluded to the resentment of the people that voted, I think that a lot of them held some things personally against him, and he's not. Listen, here's the deal: Drew Brees goes in, and why is Drew in the first ballot? Because he is so warm and fuzzy. If you think back to when he went from San Diego to New Orleans, that's coming off of Hurricane Katrina. Nobody wanted to go there. He went down there to lead the community as well as the football team and took them to a Super Bowl. So when you think about the connotation of Drew Brees, it's definitely warm and fuzzy. Is Bill warm and fuzzy? No. Is there resentment? 100% there's resentment.
Yes. I think they're just telling him, you're going to wait your turn. This is the last time we have a chance for payback. But look, Belichick's done this to himself. He's not a sympathetic character. He was a jerk to the media, to fans, to everybody for many, many years. He's football's Ebenezer Scrooge. He's Mr. Potter. He's the principal in Footloose. He's your high school math teacher. He's TSA. He's your a-hole neighbor who says, turn the music down. That's who Belichick is. Do you want to have a beer with Belichick? I mean, maybe if we do it on his boat and I just want to maybe chat with him a little bit. But
No.
you brought this up last week, Mike. You brought this up. Coach tied to a great player with record, right? So you brought up Mac Brown and Vince Young, right? There was another coach you brought up.
Clay Helton and Sam Darnold. I was trying to talk about the winner that Sam Darnold was in college.
So Belichick with Brady. Belichick only won Super Bowls with Brady. But to me, it's almost like Phil Jackson, when he was with Jordan and then he's with Kobe. Well, you're not going to win unless you have great players. So how much is he a great coach? I think he's a great coach. I mean, I think he would have won with a lot of quarterbacks.
You think you're talking about Belichick in this sense?
Yeah.
I believe that he has something special, and listen, his outward appearance, is that who he really is? I don't know, because I don't know him, and I think that he kind of plays up the curmudgeon role. I do know that the players don't want to go on a camping trip with him, but they respect him as a coach and his abilities. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. By the way, Hall of Fame is the biggest waste of time in sports. What's that?
Yeah. I'm sitting around the campfire with Bill is not a fantasy. Yeah.
But you're right. He's probably not as bad as he looks on camera. But so to me, Hall of Fame is complete waste of time. I've never, I was a bartender for many years. And then I was a drinker for more than that. And I sitting in a bar and listening to guys argue about the Hall of Fame. Oh, good Lord. It's like giving actors Academy Awards. If you make great movies, we already know who you are. You got all the attention you need. So, anytime anybody talks to me about Hall of Fame and who's deserving and all this, all I ever say to them is shoeless Joe Jackson, right? Not in the Hall of Fame, right? Why is he not in the Hall of Fame? Black Sox scandal. Okay, let's go back and look at that World Series. He hits over 300. He hits the only home run in the World Series. He never has an error. He admits he took the money because he said he was poor and Comiskey wasn't paying anybody, the owner of the White Sox. They never put him in the Hall of Fame. So I would tell all these guys, hey, go get your effing shine box until you put shoeless Joe Jackson in the Hall of Fame. That guy goes in. But I draw a line between shoeless Joe and Pete Rose. But here's the parallel. Pete Rose was just like Belichick. The media didn't like him. He was a jerk. His teammates didn't like him. He was kind of an ass to everybody. I mean, he and Johnny Bench were both jerks, and they were in the same locker room at the same time. But they hated each other, and they went and won. It was almost like Jeff Kent and Barry Bonds in San Francisco. Hated each other, two huge alpha dogs. They just stayed on each side of the clubhouse. But when they got on the field, then they won because they needed each other. So I don't really care if Bill Belichick goes in the Hall of Fame. I don't care if anybody does. Who's going to Canton to look at a bronze statue of these guys?
It's really kind of a small town museum, and the only reason that it has any allure is because of those players, and people have in their mind some reverence for some player, and everybody's in there. So, okay, if you're a Steelers fan, LC Greenwood goes in your mind, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Well, for you, but as a whole, no, it was kind of funny. You talked about it. It's kind of a beauty contest, and it's a popularity contest, and that's, there's no, I don't know if there's analytics to it. I think it's a lot more subjective, right? Than it probably
Of course
could.
yeah, you're comparing errors in different positions, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the one aspect we've left out of this is Belichick got caught cheating 3 times, twice for the same offense. That's not forgotten. People remember that. So we can't just swipe that aside and let him sail in, conquering hero. I mean, you got to hit him on the knuckles with the ruler, right? And make him wait.
All right. And then what prism do you look at Jim Harbaugh right now? Right. I just want to know, because
we talked about that before. He cheated at Michigan the year they won the national championship. It's been proven. I just watched that. I finally got around to watching the Connor Stallions documentary. And I mean, what a knucklehead that guy was. Blind loyalty to everybody who was using him at Michigan. And then they just cut him loose. I mean, he was Fredo in the rowboat. They just got rid of him and distanced as fast as they could. And he's still, I'll drop everything because I don't want to hurt Michigan. Dude, they don't care about you. And Connor Stallions could probably be making a lot of money breaking down tape for people. All right, let's move on. And talk about this Fox Sports article that you sent Tommy and I, and it's all about how it changed the dynamic of the NFL and television media rights. You take it from here.
Well, you said something last week about the Fox box, right? And how it changed things. And so I kind of went back, because it's been 30 plus years, right? And I just kind of thought to myself, how different is it? Because that if you look at a picture of you when you went to your prom, or if you look at a video of Christmas Day in 1998, it's a little different. So I kind of went back and I wondered, I remember how revolutionary it was. And if you lived in Los Angeles at that time, and KTTV channel 11 was just such a second tier channel, and it's all it was a channel. And the way that this hit when Rupert Murdoch did his thing, and so I've kind of gone back and I saw the story about that. He started in Australia, then he went to the UK and kind of cut his teeth on Sky Sports and Premier League, and did some of those things. And somehow, I wish I had his mindset. The opposite of a scarcity mindset is an abundance mindset. And he just said, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to overpay, and I'm going to change the perception. And the fact that he could see that and have that and be that risk adverse to get it done, it was the biggest long shot. And CBS and NBC had done the NFL for years and years and years. And Art Modell, here's to me what changed it. Art Modell was in charge of TV, and then he stepped away, and Jerry Jones got a hold of it. He was one of the new young Turks, and they got it together.
Yeah, him and Pat Bowlen with the Broncos, right? Those guys, they saw it as a media vehicle. They said, let's go, let this thing go.
And I don't listen, the NFL was big, but it wasn't that big at that time. And if we look at it now, what it has become, it's a monster. And you just wonder how it comes that way. But whatever Murdoch has touched, I don't know if it's the Midas touch or if he's just one of those guys that can take something that's undervalued and underutilized and change it. Premier League is a worldwide brand now. Everybody knows about it. The NFL is much more worldwide than it was. Formula One through Sky Sports and doing those things. So he was able to see sports ahead of time. he made some changes, and we talk about the Fox box. We talk about adding more cameras, more microphones, and all of those things to get done. So I think as the viewer, we're the winner in that. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
you and I both worked at Fox, and we know every organization has its shortcomings. But if you look at it as a whole, right? If you, they revolutionized everything, and I believe they made it a lot better.
Yeah, and the deal we're talking about happened in 1993, and Murdoch came in and paid $1.6 billion for the NFL media rights. And before that, it was the three legacy networks. They were paying like $230 million a year, and he came in and paid $100 million more than that. And like you said, he bigfooted them because Fox was a secondary channel. Nobody paid any attention to them. And all of a sudden, not only did they become a player, they were the centerpiece. The NFL got a taste of that money. And then NBC had kind of let their contract lapse. They're like, oh, we're not going to pay that much. They had to come back and double it a couple of years later to get the other conference, to get the AFC, because they were on the sideline and they saw this thing mushrooming. So you mentioned that Murdoch was an Australian, and also in his corral was David Hill. He brought David Hill in. David Hill also was a foreigner, and that's the guy who got the English Premier League going with Murdoch. So two guys from outside our country. And when Murdoch called the commissioner to put his bid in, he said, I got to admit, I don't know anything about football. You know, I'm from outside the country. I'm not even a big sports guy. I don't know anything, but here's a list of games that I want that my people told me. And he started listing games. And now people don't really know how media rights works. You have 4 channels that are carrying the NFL. They have a draft every week, usually on Sunday night after games, and you pick what game you want for the following week. And sometimes they do 2 weeks at a time or 3 weeks at a time, so they have some more lead up time. But the innovations that Fox brought in, whether you like the way they do it or not, they changed it. Remember, it was so stoic and so serious watching an NFL game. And that was great when we were growing up. And the pregame shows, with Irv Cross and Phyllis George and Jimmy the Greek in studio with Brent Musburger, that was the first time they talked about gambling, and they started to get a little loose on air. Murdoch came in and they just started snapping towels, and it was a frat boy mentality. They did all the innovations with the cameras and the music and the graphics. They also did shoulder programming. And I worked at Fox, and they always talk about shoulder programming is where the money is, because you figure you're going to have to pay for the game. But the other thing, you just create a pregame and a postgame show, and those are free. You own those. So that is all gravy to you. And so they bring in, I got cats all over me. Wait,
There's Fluffy.
hello. Excuse me, Finny.
There's so many jokes right there that I won't say.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it. So they had to put together this pregame show. So Ed Gorin comes in. Ed Gorin's an American, so he was the executive producer, and he meets Howie Long. He wants Howie Long. And this is funny about Gorin. I never really noticed this. I guess if you'd asked me, I could have told you. But he wanted an offensive player, which was a quarterback, Terry Bradshaw, who he got from CBS. Then he met Howie Long at a party in Atlanta, defensive player, and he's charismatic, and he looks good, and he's young, and he just retired. Yeah. And then he needed a coach. So they wanted Jimmy Johnson, right? So they called Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy says, well, ESPN offered me a deal, and I think I'm going to take the ESPN deal. And Gorin says, well, we can match the money. And Jimmy Johnson, who didn't need any money, said, well, here's the thing. ESPN told me that I can do my segments from my house in Isla Morada, which is in the Florida Keys. He wants to sit on his fishing boat and do, on his back dock and do his segments. And Gorin is funny. Gorin said, how about you come do this for us? And he said, no, because ESPN's going to let me do it from my house. And this is the quote from Gorin. Well, those effers lied to you. What kind of effing charisma do you and your lazy effing white ass have on the boat in Isla Morada? You're in the studio, you're on the sideline, you're at the game. And Jimmy Johnson said, that's like hit him in the face. And they said, just name your number. We need you to do this thing. So they brought him in for a couple of weeks, and then he got hooked and he loved it. And so to me, that whole pregame show, and I've never understood, because I did pregame shows for 30 or 40 years for all sports. Dude, you do not need 6 guys to break down halftime, where each guy gets one sentence, and Bradshaw spins off and does whatever he's talking about. But, it's the same reason they brought in Tom Brady, and we talked about it last week. They just want to Bigfoot everybody to show, we get everybody. We're where people want to work. This is the game everybody wants to watch, right? They're buying credibility, but That's sports TV, and it worked.
Well,
I like the
about Fox,
I like the
Fox, I'm sorry, just real quick.
Okay.
You know, Fox's shows, everybody in that has won a Super Bowl. So it lends to the credibility. You never have to ask. And they started that. I'll never forget the very first pregame show they did. They had like cutouts of the people, and it was Jimmy coaching, who had won the Super Bowl with the Cowboys, Terry Howie, and then Matt Millen was a part of it as well. And so what's the common thread? They all had recently won Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, I don't know. I thought the story that in that article, if you read the whole thing through, David Hill, and again, he's not American, but now he's living in LA, and they gave him like 4 months to put the whole thing together. He's like, there's no way I can do this. But he started slapping it together, and Murdoch, 3 months, and Murdoch gave him an open checkbook. So he's just throwing money at everybody, which became kind of the Fox way. Just throw money at it, bring in the biggest names, whatever it takes, more cameras, bigger trucks, make a spectacle out of it. But David Hill, they were trying to find music. Remember the signature Fox music, because he knew, like with the Olympics, NBC's bum, bum, ba, bum, 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 right? You just know it in your head. We did the fight songs a couple weeks ago. You hear that, it takes you right to that place. So Hill knew how important music was. So he goes to Six Flags with his teenage son, and they're waiting in line for a roller coaster. And Six Flags tried to jump Disneyland, and they started playing music in the line to get you pumped up to set the theme, right? And so there was a Batman ride at Six Flags, and he heard the music, this dark, foreboding, lots of trumpets. And David Hill immediately got on the phone, and he calls his team, and this is the quote: "I want you to make a theme song that sounds like, quote, Batman owns a football team." And when I hear the Fox music, that's exactly what it sounds like. But that's the way these things happen. And when you're unbridled, when you're given the checkbook like Murdoch gave to Hill, go do it. Just go make it happen. But don't fail.
I think unbridled is the perfect way to describe it, right? You think about you're at Six Flags with your son, and you hear some music, and the next thing you call and say, let's do what we now know as the Fox theme. And it's interesting to hear how that it came about and what was and it all makes sense. But that was kind of a part of what I think differentiated everybody here, because they weren't trying to do what was staid and had worked. There wasn't the safety of we've always done it that way. And I really do believe that has ended up being the secret sauce.
Yeah, they had to change it. They had to upend it, and they did it. Let's move on to a new topic. Winter Olympics, the opening ceremonies are today. Mike, I know you never miss it. The story I wanted to talk about was the skier Lindsey Vonn. Lindsey Vonn's already won an Olympic gold medal in the downhill. She's one of the greatest skiers the sport, not just America, the sport has ever produced. She's a household name. She's beautiful. She's a blonde. All of this going on. She had retired and had been injured. She fought her way back and then had retired and then comes back out of retirement. And then the last tune-up before the Olympics, she has this fall, I believe it was in Austria. And right there, she ends up blowing out her ACL. I think it was her left knee. And it took her, a few minutes to get down the hill. If you've ever been around anybody who's blown out an ACL, you can stand on it. You just can't, there's no sway back and forth to it. Right. It's painful. And I'm told this, it's painful at first, and then the pain goes away. And you think you're okay. But when you try to put pressure on it, then it just gives way. So that's where she was left. And it looked like, well, then that's going to do it. She's 41 years old. She's trying to come back out of retirement, and now she hurts her knee. So that's the end of the story, right? But in the same article, she says, nope, I'm going to put on a brace, and I'm going to compete. So here's the quote that she has. "This is not obviously what I had hoped for, but I've been working really hard to come into these games in a much different position. I know what my chances were before the crash. I know what my chances are as it stands today, but I know there's still a chance. And as long as there's a chance, I'm going to try. And for that, I say, you are a selfish person, because you're 41 and you've done it many times. And this is not your time anymore. It is past. You are injured. You are 41. And you know what you should have done? You should have looked to the bench because there's a bunch of 22 and 23-year-olds who we've never heard of, but are the next American stars that are 100% healthy and ready to go. Now, you might be able to beat them when you're healthy, but you're not healthy anymore. Mike, can she ski without an ACL in the Olympics?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm thinking back in time when you were 41, and of course you were all about giving the opportunities to the 22-year-olds. So your hypocritical diatribe that you just went through, okay? So the point being, all she has to do, she's on like a maintenance program. She's like the person that's lost 100 pounds and is known for that. And all they have to do is maintain. She doesn't have to win it. She said, listen, she is marketing gold. You just said it. She's beautiful. People are jealous of her. She's blonde. She's done all the same. All she has to do is kind of show up now. And she's not going to give that up because she's 41 years old. Athletes are selfish. They're like sportscasters. You have a great sense of self and identity.
Yeah.
So,
but you don't want to walk off the stage. I know how it is, and you're right.
Right.
And,
yeah.
well,
You get this. I think she's good. It's an interest story that probably wouldn't be there for the Winter Olympics if she was not competing. All right. That's the
yeah.
I think
There's gonna be a lot more attention on it.
When you read her quote,
attention. What's that, Tom?
When you read her quote, it comes off as insincere. But let's listen to Lindsay. It's touching, and NBC, like you said, it's marketing gold.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not in pain. It was painful initially after the crash, and which is why I had concern, which is why I went via helicopter to the hospital. I had a feeling it was bad, but I held out hope until I saw the MRI in front of me. But I haven't cried. I have not deviated from my plan. I've been determined. And, normally in the past, there's always a moment where you break down and you realize the severity and of things and that your dreams are slipping through your fingers, but I didn't have that this time. I'm not letting this slip through my fingers. I'm going to do it.
So look,
she
comes back, Mike, and wins a medal. Then I'll say I was wrong. When you brought up that I did the same thing to young broadcasters, yeah, because once I'm out of the chair, I'm never getting back in the chair. That's why I'm sitting here talking to you right now. So yeah. You're right, but damn you for bringing facts into this argument.
But Tom plays that, and as I'm watching it, you said she's beautiful. She is. She made me want to wear makeup. She made me want to get a tag watch. She made me want to wear a white puffy coat. Do you know what I'm saying? And so
you think somewhere in Florida Tigers going through the old contact list?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll dial her up again.
And I look at it two ways. We've talked a lot about this in the business of sport, and you and I understand there are two things. Like show business is a business. There's show and business, and sports business the same way. So from a marketing perspective, I totally get what she's doing. Now, listen, from sports, she's not exactly Jack Youngblood playing on a broken leg, okay? And so it's
wow, that's Wayback Machine, yeah.
Well, it is, but it's just like everybody knows that story, and and Grandpa's going to bring it up, and I don't know that that's going to be what this is. It's totally a marketing opportunity. It's branding, and it's eyeballs on her. And that's fine. Look, I understand the jealousy. I was talking to one of my teammates about this. It's like it would be easy for me to be jealous of Marcus Allen or Ronnie Lott because they're better than me, and your sense of self wants to be the best. But then sooner or later, you start to identify like, hey, okay, maybe I don't have what they have. Not everybody looks like her. Not everybody can ski like her. I don't really begrudge her. I don't think I'm the cynical, bitter old man that you are becoming when it comes to young girls skiing.
I've been like this since I was young. I was a bitter young man.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So listen, I had no argument when she was healthy at 41 because she was leading the world downhill standings. She was, I think, sixth in the overall in the world. So not only did she belong there, she was a medal favorite. But now it's all changed. The calculus all changed. I'm just saying, you're a 22, 23-year-old. You've been waiting your turn. This is it. She beats you out for the team. That you don't have any argument. Now she's hurt. She can't ski as fast as you. If she, like I said, if she wins a medal, then I'm fine with it. There's only one other person that we want to keep an eye on during the Olympics, and that's of course one of our favorites of all time. I'm talking about Dick Hammer in the luge.
Dick Hammer.
There he is. He's gonna make every show, Mike. I don't care if anybody ever watches. Dick Hammer's getting a shout out every show.
And did you know that they're allowing him to smoke in the luge too?
Yeah.
That guy smokes in the shower. I love it. All right, let's go back, Mike. I want to get back to the Super Bowl real quick, and we'll close this thing out. Your plans for the Super Bowl? Are you still going to be in the desert?
No. A recent development is one of my college teammates invited me to Newport Beach for a get-together.
My old hood.
So, yeah, I'm gonna run with the fancy crowd on Sunday. Absolutely,
I love
absolutely.
It. You know, if you have some time before the game, there's a bus that tours Newport Beach, and it goes through all my old spots where I lived, places that I drank, where I took cocktail waitresses late at night for Bible study, all of that. It's great. It's like the Cosmo Kramer reality tour.
There we go.
How about those guys? There you go, Michael. You talked about this. You talked about this a couple of weeks ago. That's us in younger days. Look at no gray hair, drinking the PBR talls, and that's Big Dean's under the Santa Monica Pier, a little north of Newport Beach. But those are glory days. The question that Tom Catlin, our producer, had is: you look good, I look good, we're very happy, but who is that dude in the back, and how serious is he over that beer?
Yeah, drinking a beer by himself, but he's in the sun. Here's the deal: if you go back to the other picture, Tom, is that now you know why Pabst Blue Ribbon became a trendy and hipster beer. It's because of that moment in time right there. And I also want to point out, I think I'm wearing that same T-shirt from speaking of the 1900s. So things haven't changed.
Sure. You know what's funny? I've never even looked at it, but the T-shirt I'm wearing is a Tommy Bahamas shirt. It says, "When life gives you lemons, add rum." And I still have that shirt too. That shirt's in the closet down the hallway.
Oh man!
Just
bleach on.
Stay with what works.
Go with
bleach. All right.
Clear.
So you're going to a private party. My wife's going to be in New York, so I'm home with the kids. I'll probably bounce between rooms, and they'll have, I don't know, they'll have story bots on or something in one room, and I'll go back and check the game. Again, it's not that exciting. Normally, when I was in California, I always got invited to this big Super Bowl party, and it was a good time. But I rarely even watch much of the game until you hear people yell. So I'll probably just be bouncing back and forth. Tommy, what are your plans? What are you doing? You're down in the desert too.
My bride and I, by the way, camera's still frozen. My bride and I are COVID positive, so we're expected to stay home. But
that's not a thing anymore, Tom.
That's up in the air. It's up in the air. We'll see. I'm not.
We're back to just calling COVID. We're back to calling COVID the flu. That's it. It already had a name.
There you go.
Tom, I want to reach through the screen and choke you for saying COVID positive. I think that both Jim and I should admonish you for that.
I figured that was coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least you caught Waddy on the Lindsey Vonn thing.
Yeah, that's true. That was a good. That was a good catch. Yeah. Yeah. Tommy, I know you got
as far
some
as
sound.
my pick, of course, I go with Mike in the under. I don't think Drake is going to have.
We're not at the picks yet. We're not at the picks.
Oh, good Lord.
We got to hear from one of Boston's own. Mike, you know Bill Burr, the comedian?
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. So a Boston guy, big Patriots fan, and they asked him about the Super Bowl. Tommy, roll sound.
I'm going to re-cue that with audio, okay?
Yeah, it sounds better when you can hear it.
Very good idea. Yeah.
Here we go.
I love that
Gives it
Seattle
life feel.
is totally overrated. And then I also realized that I'm smart enough in my old age to not spend all that money to go to the game. To have some idiot in front of me with 12th man written on his face, wearing everything but cleats, standing up the whole game. Or I could sit in a cigar bar like a person and realize that I'm not playing.
That was a little giggle at
How
the
good
end.
is that?
Hey, listen.
He's great.
But I've never had a comedian resonate with me more than that little snippet. When I watch people, and he's talking about a Seahawks fan, so I'm picturing one right now, and I used to picture like Raider fans or whatever. So I'm going to go buy a jersey. I'm going to go buy a ticket. I'm going to go buy a $26 beer and sit in the snow and dress up in all this thing like I'm important and I'm not. And for him to say, I'm going to go sit in a cigar bar and do that. Tommy, what's the casino in by Palm Valley that has the big cigar bar? Anyways, I'm picturing Bill Burr and I sitting in there and him complaining about the Seahawks fans.
Fantasy
What is it?
Springs, one of those.
Fantasy Springs. Yeah, sure, whatever. There we go. See, Tom and I can relate. We're relating today.
Yeah, sorry about the COVID drop.
Oh my God.
Sorry,
It
we
was
can
clearly
take it
a
out in
fumble.
post.
Clearly a turnover.
You know what? Just bring up a Chiron that says 1998. People will understand. We're not doing the COVID thing anymore. We shouldn't have done it the first time.
You think Dick Hammer
Super
believes
Bowl
in COVID?
food.
Yeah, you think Dick Cameron worries about being
No, I don't
Hey,
think.
you think that guy he's worried about being COVID positive?
I chew COVID and spit it out.
That dude craps COVID in the morning. He doesn't care. All right, Eric. It's in San Francisco, and they're all foodies, and of course, the Super Bowl. So there's food involved. I found this article. All right, here's all the food that's going on in Santa Clara. By the way, it's not in San Francisco. If you're not from California, Santa Clara is 42 miles from San Francisco. It's like when the Giants and Jets called themselves New York and played in Jersey. At least it was across the river. You could see New York. You can't see San Francisco from Santa Clara.
No.
You can't see anything from Santa Clara.
And,
All right, so here's the food.
Go ahead. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Did you have a comment? Jump in.
Well, no, it's just like it's so far removed. 42 miles doesn't do it justice. Okay, if you're from California, you know that you convey distance in time, right?
Time.
And so
That's right.
So 42 miles makes it seem like it's in the same region or geography. It is not. It's in San Jose, and it's an hour to an hour and a half to get from San Francisco to that stadium. They're not in the same zip code. They're not in the same area code. It's yeah. So I just want to validate your point there that please, it's
Well,
good.
all of us have lived in Southern California, and it's so funny in Southern California when I was living there, tourists would come in and they say, "Hey, how far is it from my hotel in Newport to Disneyland, or how far to get to Staples Center?" And I would say, because you only do this in California. What time of day you going? What freeway you going to take? Do you have enough people for the carpool? And people say, "I just want to know how far it is." It says it's 41 miles. I'm like, yeah, but we don't measure distance in miles. We measure it in time in California. I love that you brought that up. All right, here's the food. They have a thing called the extra large hammer burger. So Dick makes another appearance here.
Hamburger. Okay.
It's a hammer burger. Mike, you're gonna love this. Cheeseburger that includes a bone-in beef shank the bone actually sticks up through the brioche bun, and then they cover the whole thing in blue cheese fondue.
That sounds good.
Not on the diet menu. It's San Francisco, so of course they have the sourdough bread bowl with chowder, but they have a dessert version that's cinnamon bread with white chocolate cream. Then they have for drinks, how about an Irish coffee? By the way, the Irish coffee was invented at the Shannon Airport in Dublin, but in America, they changed it. The reinvention came at the Buena Vista. Hey, I'm doing a show here.
The Buena Vista.
At the Buena Vista, which is at the foot of Hyde Street, right down by the water, the fishermen in San Francisco would come in after being out in the frigid, foggy bay all morning fishing. They'd come in and get a coffee. How about you put a little hooch in there, put a little Irish, Bushmills in there, and then they put a little whipped cream on the top for the ladies. So the one they're having now is called, and this shows you how far San Francisco has fallen, a Fog City frozen Irish coffee, which is Irish whiskey, vanilla bean ice cream, and cold brew. Mike, if you'd served that to a fisherman in San Francisco in the 1940s, what do you think he would have done to you?
Yeah, he'd have made you part of the chapino for the next day, right? So,
Absolutely.
Let me tell you something that I saw, and I don't know what I was looking at. And I'm going to take you even further back than Jack Youngblood, okay? Are you guys ready? It was a picture of Humphrey Bogart. It's a picture of Humphrey Bogart jamming a hot dog in his mouth. And the quote was, it said, "A hot dog at the ballpark is better than a steak at the Ritz." And as you're talking about how fancy-fied this all is, I'm thinking Bogart with a hot dog, and that's good enough for me, and I think it should be good enough.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. They have a fortune cookie martini. They think they're going to sell 10,000 hot dogs. I thought there'd be a lot more than 10. There's 75,000 people there. You're only selling 10,000 hot dogs. 1,000 of those are the foot long. Why get a regular hot dog when you get a foot long? 8,000 margaritas, 5,000 chocolate dip fortune cookies, 4,000 oysters, 2,000 pounds of beef tenderloin, and 1,500 pounds of Dungeness crab, all being served at the stadium with everything else that they throw in there.
And as you're talking about that, I'm like every dad on vacation. Everybody's having a great time, but in my mind, there's a meter that's running on how much is this going to cost. It's like being in a taxi in the old days, right? And so, as you're saying this, I'm going back to Bill Burr's comment. I'm thinking about how many shares of the total stock market fund could I buy instead of going and drinking the golden margarita and the whatever else we described. And Bill Burr kind of alluded to that. So whether it's the phase that Bill and we are all at in life, but I just think about that. Look, I've been to Super Bowls. I don't want to go to Super Bowls anymore. I went to my first Super Bowl long time ago. It's just a football game. Now, if it's your team and if you're Drake May's dad and you promised your 10-year-old kid you're going to do it, I get it. All right. Or if you're going to go to the Indiana game and all your life, no one's ever won anything. All right. Okay, maybe. But I just I don't understand it. I don't listen, that Bill Burr thing, you need to send that to me because this may become my core philosophy in life.
Hey, I heard there was a podcast recently with Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock and Louis C.K. and Ricky Gervais, and they were telling the story. I forget, they were quoting another comedian who said, when a dad takes his family on vacation and he's carrying all the bags out after packing and putting it all together, and he gets it all into the minivan, and he brings the kids out and he straps everybody in, and then the wife comes out and she's already telling him he's driving the wrong way and they don't have the right plan, they're leaving too late, and he puts her in the car, and then when he walks from the wife's door around the back of the van to his door, you know what husbands call that walk? That's his vacation. That's it. Just that walk. After that, it's for everybody else.
Hey, so Tom, Hang on. Before Jim moves on, before he had kids, I kind of described what it was like to be a dad. And he says, well, what's different? I said, here's the difference. If you want a glass of water, all right, in your own house, I said, and I went through this whole thing about there's no water. You've got to go take the sparkless bottle. You've got to undo the thing. You've got to wipe it off. You've got to put it in there. You got to do all that. That's being the dad. And so Jim laughed at me. He thought that was the funniest thing and how foolish I was, because that's how I live.
It's not so funny anymore, Mike. It's not funny anymore.
Last week,
you know what it is? It's the old, if you give a mouse a cookie, right? That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Well, last week we lost vegans. This week we lost females.
I don't know if we ever had them. All right, prediction times real quick. Seattle -4.5, 45.5. Mike?
If you put a gun to my head, I would take the Patriots and get the points, and I love the under.
Yeah. Beautiful. Tom?
I got Seattle 20, New England 10, the under, and Seattle covers.
Okay. I'm going to mix you two guys. I'm also taking the Patriots and the points, but I'll go over because Super Bowls last so long. It'll go over at the very end, and there might be overtime. So I'm gonna hedge and I'm gonna take the over, but I'm gonna take the 4.5 of the Patriots. I'll be also, people are saying, are you gonna watch Bad Bunny? Or are you gonna watch the TPUSA Kid Rock Spectacular? I'm watching the Puppy Bowl at halftime. Safe. Go right down the middle.
You will. So if Bill Burr becomes my new religion, is that like Buddha and you're a Buddhist? Will I become a Burrist? Is that what
Wouldn't that be? That'd be great.
When Waddy mentioned Bill Burr, good. And I went to find this soundbite, which I'm not going to roll the sound this time, but I went down a rabbit hole of Bill Burr, and it was fantastic. He's just hammering, and if he's on their show and he hammers them.
Yeah, for guys, he rips people. You brought me on here. And that's the only question yet. He's so good. Well, he says what you're thinking at home, and if guys of our age, he talks just like us. He hates everything. He's annoyed. He just wants to be left alone, and it's real for him. That's what I love about him. All right, Mike. Final comment if you have anything. Otherwise, I'm going to close it out. We've gone way too long today, but we had a lot of stuff to cover. Go ahead.
My favorite part of the show was when you said that after football's over, you're going to cut me loose. So thank you. What
I meant to say is we're downsizing, Mike. We're downsizing.
Yeah. Sorry. We had a meeting.
You don't want to come in here. You don't want to come in here and talk about baseball. I'll bring you back whenever you want to come back. I'm just giving you time off. Tommy, last comment before we get out of here.
Well, do you want to do this disclaimer? I was a little. I think legally we have to, right?
Yeah. I forgot it at the top. I'm glad you said it because this show needs it. The views expressed by the host on this podcast are mine alone. Don't reflect the views or beliefs of my wife and children, who are decent and honorable people and are also forced to suffer my existence. Signed, Waddy's wife. And I love that you have
Betty Rubble.
See, it's
Betty Rubble.
Wilma Flintstone. Betty Rubble as Betty Rubble, from the Flintstones.
I'll try to change it up each week.
Yeah. You know what? We'll do some Flintstones trivia next week. I'm going to ask you who was the Grand Poobah of the Water Buffalo Lodge. Anybody know that one? Joe Rockhead. Come on.
Oh, right.
Yeah, there you go. All right. It is the internet, so we're not out of time, but we're out of topics, and I'm sure you're out of patience by this point. Unfortunately, we ran so long, we're just not going to be able to get on our big super segment on the WNBA. Mike, hold that for next week. I know you're a big fan. We'll try to get it in. For Lamb, for Catlin, and for our executive producer, the selfish Lindsey Vaughn, I'm Tariq Woolen, and that is our Obstructed View. Coming up next on the main stage, the first song ever played by MTV, The Buggles. Video killed the radio star.
Intently tuning in on you. If I was young, it didn't stop you coming through. I met your children. What did you tell them?
Video killed the radio star. video killed the radio star.
Pictures came and broke your heart.
Oh,